Bhaktyamamabhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvakuto jnatva vishate tad anantaram.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Rosie, do you have the Bhagavad Gita with you?
Yes.
Would you like to read the word to word? So you can say Bhaktya and we'll repeat after you. Then you'll say by pure devotional service and we'll repeat after you.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes.
At least we can read the text once again more.
Okay.
So we can repeat that one. At least
Yes.
3 times we can read as usual. But if
Okay.
not 3 times, at least 2 times we can read so that everybody can recite the text. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Rosie, would you like to read the text?
The one in English?
Yes. So Bhaktya mam api janati.
In Sanskrit?
Yes. Try. We all are. Even I'm a learner. Even I haven't learned
Okay.
Sanskrit. So this is a place where we try.
But should I also sing?
If you want.
No, I won't sing.
Okay,
I'll
just say
sing.
plainly. Just say plain.
Okay. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan
Abhijanati
tatvata tata mam natva vishate tat anantaram.
Yavan yachasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato jnatva visate tam. Renuka Mataji, would you like to read the Sanskrit? Hare Krishna. Okay.
Mataji, you can read so that we can follow.
Okay. Bhaktya mam abhijanati
Bhaktyamamabhijanati
yavan yasyasmi tatvatah
yavan yasyasmi tattvataha
tato mam tatvato jnatva
tato mam tattvato jnatva
visate tad anantaram.
Vishate tadantaram.
Hare Krishna. Would anybody else like to read the Sanskrit? We can do it. Read once more.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Kumar Prabhuji, kindly read.
Bhaktya
Bhaktya mam abhijanati
yavan yasasmi tatvadah
yavan yasyasmi tatvatah
tamo mam tatvato jnatva
tato mam tatvato jnatva
visade dat anandaram.
vishate tad anantaram. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Let's proceed to the word to word. Ajay Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Okay. Anybody would like to read the word to word?
I will read, Mataji.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Bhaktya,
Bhaktya,
by pure devotional service.
by pure devotional service.
Mam,
Mam,
me. Abhijanati,
abhijanati,
one can know.
one can know.
Yavan,
Yavan,
as much as.
As much
as much as.
Yasya Ashmi,
Yajashmi,
me,
as I am,
as I
as
am,
I am,
Tattvataha,
Tatvadaha,
Tatvataha,
in truth,
in
in truth,
truth,
in truth,
ha,
Tadaha,
Natva,
thereafter,
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 Mam,
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 me,
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 Tattvataha,
Tatvadaha,
Tatvataha,
Tatvataha,
in truth,
in
in truth,
truth,
Jantva,
Jantva,
Jnatva,
knowing,
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 Visate,
Visate,
Visade,
he enters,
he
he enters,
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 Tat Anantaram,
Tat
Tatanantara,
Anantara,
Anantaram,
thereafter.
thereafter.
thereafter. Hare Krishna, thank you very much, Prabhuji, for reading the word to word.
I can read the translation so that everybody can repeat.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. One can understand me as I am,
One
One
can
can
understand me as I am,
as the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
as
as
the
the
Supreme
Supreme
Personality of Godhead,
only by devotional service.
only by
only by
devotional
the
service.
And when one is in full consciousness
And when
and
one
when
is
is
in
in
full
full consciousness
consciousness
of me by such devotion,
of
of
me
me
by
by
such
such
devotion,
he can enter into the kingdom of God.
he
he
can
can
enter
enter
into the
into
kingdom of God.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, we
Yeah,
go on to
someone-
read the purport. Mataji has still not joined, so we can use this time to read the purport.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Anybody would like to read the purport? Gideon, Prabhuji?
I can read the purport, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Ajay Prabhuji, kindly read the purport 1855. Prabhuji, if you are tired in the middle, kindly stop, then somebody can take over or I can take over. It's a long purport.
That's okay.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Yeah.
Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his plenary portions cannot be understood by mental speculation, nor by the non-devotees. If anyone wants to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has to take to pure devotional service under the guidance of a pure devotee. Otherwise, the truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will always be hidden. It's already stated in Bhagavad Gita 7:25, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya. He is not revealed to anyone. No, he is not revealed to everyone. No one can understand God simply by erudite scholarship or mental speculation. Only one who is actually engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service can understand what Krishna is. University degrees are not helpful. One who is fully conversant with the Krishna science becomes eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom, the abode of Krishna. Becoming Brahman does not mean that one loses his identity. Devotional service is there, and as long as devotional service exists, there must be God, the devotee, and the process of devotional service. Such knowledge is never vanquished, even after liberation. Liberation involves getting free from the concept of material life. In spiritual life, the same distinction is there, the same individuality is there, but in pure Krishna consciousness, one should not mistakenly think that the word Vishate enters into me supports the monist theory that one becomes homogeneous with the impersonal Brahman. No. Vishate means that one can enter into the abode of Supreme Lord in one's individuality to engage in his association and render service unto him. For instance, a green bird enters a green tree not to become one with the tree, but to enjoy the fruits of the tree. Impersonalists generally give the example of a river flowing into the ocean and merging. This may be a source of happiness for the impersonalist, but the personalist keeps his personal individuality and aquatic in the ocean. No, but the personalist keeps his personal individuality like an aquatic in the ocean. We find so many living entities within the ocean. If we go deep, surface acquaintance with the ocean is not sufficient. One must have complete knowledge of the aquatics living in the ocean depths. Because of his pure devotional service, a devotee can understand the transcendental qualities and the opulences of the Supreme Lord in truth. As it is stated in the 11th chapter, only by devotional service can one understand. The same is confirmed here. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by devotional service and enter into his kingdom. After attainment of Brahma Bhuta, stage of freedom from material conceptions, devotional service begins by one's learning about the Lord. When one hears about the Supreme Lord, automatically the Brahma Bhuta stage develops and the material contamination, greediness and lust for sense enjoyment disappears. As lust and desires disappear from the heart of a devotee, he becomes more attached to the service of the Lord. And by such attachment, he becomes free from material contamination. In that state of life, he can understand the Supreme Lord. This is a statement of Srimad Bhagavatam also. After liberation, the process of bhakti or transcendental service continues. The Vedanta Sutra 4.1.12 confirms this. Aprayanad tatrapi hi drishtam. This means that after liberation, the process of devotional service continues. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, real devotional liberation is defined as reinstatement of the living entity in his own identity, his own constitutional position. The constitutional position is already explained. Every living entity is a part and parcel, fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his constitutional position is to serve. After liberation, this service is never stopped. Actual liberation is getting free from misconceptions of life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much, Ajay Prabhuji, reading the perfect. Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept our humble obeisances on behalf of everybody in this group who have joined and are about to join, Mataji. Thank you for joining in. Mataji, we are reading the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and we are on chapter 18. Chapter 18 is the perfection of renunciation. And today, Mataji, we are on text 55. We have read the Sanskrit, the translation, and the purport. So we now hand over to you, Mataji. Thank you.
Mataji, first of all, very, very happy to see you back in the calls. Thank you so much for this opportunity. We will start our prayer. Soma Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Thank you so much. So let's get started with our today's verse. And I know we are just nearing the ending of Bhagavad Gita as such. So it's really exciting and great accomplishment, I would say. So let's get started with our verse. Before that, I just want to give you some sort of few examples just to make the concept clear. So let's, we'll talk about karma, jnana, yoga, and then we'll try to see what is the karmi doing, what is the nishkama karma means, what is nishkama karma yoga means, what does jnana yogi mean, So just in terms of examples, if I say, then you may understand this a little bit better. And then we will get into, because again, here you're seeing a transition, isn't it? You're seeing there is a gradual ladder that you're seeing from Karma Yoga. We see there is a progression to Jnana Yoga. And from that, we see that it goes into Ashtanga Yoga. And then they reach the Brahman platform. And Brahman platform is not the end, because we have pure bhakti. And through this process of pure bhakti, we would get into Lord's abode. This is sort of a gradual progression that is happening. And that is what we have been seeing from all these verses. So I just want to sort of give you some examples to make this concept more clear. So let's say, for example, somebody saw a scooter on the road or some bike on the road. And he checked, okay, this person is checking, is this bike locked or not? Okay, they find out it is not locked. Then he may just sit on the scooter and drive this bike, isn't it? And then enjoy. Who's this person? This person is Karmi. Karmi enjoys everything without even asking, okay, who created the sun? Who created this moon? Who created the fruits? Who created the grains? Who's giving us water to drink? How are the sweet waters coming from the sky? So they are called karmis. Karmis are always for enjoying in this world. This is what they do. And so now this is karmi. How about nishkama karma karmi? Nishkama karmi. What does he do? What does he do? When we ask this question, he may just do some social service. He may, do some service to the poor. He's kind of selfless in that way. He's doing some selfless service there. So this is nishkama karma. So we haven't used, if you carefully observe, I'm talking about a person who is nishkama karmi. I'm not talking about nishkama karma yogi. Yogi means there is a connection to God. So nishkama karma yoga means the service is done to God. He connects everything to God. He likes to do what he likes to do, but then he offers the results to God and he's detached from the results. So this is what is nishkama karma yoga. This is how purification is starting for him. Isn't it? This is how he's starting his purificatory process. So we saw karmi, we saw nishkama karmi, and then we saw this term nishkama karma yoga. So there is a connection to God there. And then now a jnana yogi. What about a jnana yogi? He sees the scooter, but he will say, this scooter doesn't belong to me. Although it is open, it is lying on the ground. Nobody is there to climb it. I should not touch it because it doesn't belong to me. So he goes away like that because that is not his property. Okay. Then now you may ask this question, isn't it? What does a bhakti yogi do in this case, in a scenario of where there is a scooter lying on the road which is unlocked? What will a bhakta do? You may ask this question. Yes, a bhakta, what does he do? He immediately takes up his phone and he says this is unlocked and he calls up the police. He says the police, oh, there is a scooter lying there and somebody may loot it. If this scooter is laying here for a long time, then somebody may just loot it and take it away. We don't know what is going on. Maybe somebody didn't lock their scooter, so we need to take care of it. And so he calls up the police. The police then takes care of the scooter and they deliver it to the appropriate person. So this is what a bhakta does with regards to the scooter. So in this way, we've seen a nature of a karma yogi, jnana yogi, and bhakti yogi. So bhakti yogi is actually the complete person. He is not only saying na mama, yeah, it doesn't belong to me, but he also finds out who it belongs to. I was just giving you an example, but in the actual scenario, this bhakta knows everything belongs to Krishna. So everything should be offered in Krishna's service. Therefore, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and devotee understands that. And devotee he also understands that Krishna is the controller, he is the proprietor, and he is the enjoyer. And he is not envious of Krishna being the enjoyer. This is the meaning of these terms. Just through simple examples, I just wanted to illustrate you the concepts of what we have been seeing so far. And now coming back to the previous verse, which you saw probably yesterday. So a jiva now comes to the Brahmabhuta stage. He sees a Brahmabhuta as a stage where the jiva recognizes the spiritual nature. He have come to the stage where he's not identifying with his gross body or subtle body, and he gives up on those things. Now he's identifying himself as completely spiritual, and that is why there is no lamentation, there is no hankering of anything that is concerned with the material nature. Mad bhaktim labate param. So Suddha Bhakti actually starts beyond that point. So now that is where we left off, isn't it? So we saw Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kankshati samasarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. So we need to understand what is this purification and what are these benefits. This is again from previous verse. So purification essentially has two aspects to it. Now, there is going to be decrease in attraction towards material, impure material things. And there is going to be increase in attraction to spiritual things, that is pure spiritual things, ultimately towards the spiritual reality. So we will understand these two aspects that provide two benefits. The two benefits that are provided by this process of purification is relief and release. So now, what is this relief? So as long as we are impure, our lower desires impel us towards some sort of menial activities, right? Just like, say, for example, taskmaster, he is there and he drags the animal against its will towards a slaughterhouse. The animal doesn't want to die, but still this taskmaster, he is dragging the animal so that it could be killed. So the taskmaster is like impurities that drag our better senses towards self-destruction. Because all this is why we are being dragged by our senses. Where is it leading to? It is actually leading to our self-destruction. And Bhagavad Gita, this particular verse indicates that we become purified and situated. We can become purified and become situated in this Brahman platform, where we would relish the inner fulfillment. The fulfillment actually comes from inner pleasure that identifying you are the spirit soul. That is where the inner fulfillment comes from. The outer pleasures that we see, they seem irresistible. When we are actually impure, they are irresistible. But they can no longer hold us spellbound. We have to understand that. So we are tempted because we are not purified. We are being triggered by our emotions. But this person whom we are talking about, this person is purified, and because of which he is not lamenting or he's not hankering. That is the understanding. Na sochati na kankshati. So it is like a taskmaster now, his rope is cut off. So how can he drag? There is no way to drag, isn't it? We are no longer being dragged by our senses, and we are no longer impelled by it. So it's like a taskmaster cutting off the rope. So this is so there is this relief, isn't it? There is the relief that happens. There is the sweetness that comes because of this cutting off of the ropes. That is the inner fulfillment we are talking about, which is the relief. And what is this release? So the purification also revives. What does it revive? It revives our original attraction to Lord Krishna. Mad bhaktim labate param. This attraction, it releases the soul's devotional energy that had been previously dormant. Because of our impurities, or although we have prema within us, it is dormant, isn't it? They have been restricted by our desires upon what? Upon the material things. So our revived spiritual desires fill us and give us this devotional energy to do wonderful things. You can't even imagine. I want to do this for Krishna. I want to do that for Krishna. I want to do this for Krishna's pleasure and for the others' ultimate benefit. So now we have, so we relish this release, isn't it? This is also sweet and intoxicating. So our purification has two purposes, where we have our inner fulfillment, and then after that we also have our it revives our original attraction to Lord Krishna. Because now our dormant desires to material things have gone, and we have revived our spiritual relationship with Lord Krishna. So that pleasure is something that we can't, after that, what happens is you want to do a lot of things for the pleasure of Lord Krishna. This is what you feel. This is what this person feels. And he wants to do it ultimately for the benefit of others and for people. He feels compassionate for people who are not into Krishna consciousness. He wants to make everyone Krishna consciousness. See, what I have, everyone should have, and everyone should relish this transcendental relationship with the Lord. That is what this person feels. So this is the fulfillment that we get. It also then now prepares us to have this ecstatic life with Lord Krishna. So, which is the understanding from that verse. And on the other side, on the flip side, if we start to compare, instead of actually contemplating on God's pastimes, Lord's pastimes, it actually leads to what Krishna's pastimes, if we start to listen, it leads to what? Purification, it leads to inspiration, it leads to liberation. But on the contrary, if we start to compare ourselves, then what happens? What does this comparison means? What does it lead to? Comparison actually leads to contamination. Not only contamination, it leads to depression and it leads to detention. So let's understand, what does it mean? So contamination, say for example, if you are comparing, the comparison actually makes us feel inferior to others, isn't it? Then we get victimized to what is called inferiority complex. Oh, I don't have what the other person has. If comparison makes you superior to others, then we get seduced by what is called superiority complex. Both are self-centered. It is not going to lead you anywhere, just it is going to create more impurities in your heart. So that is why we don't compare ourselves with anybody, anything, or whatever that is. Because it again adulterates our heart. And why do we want to do that? It is making you self-centered. Not only that, it leads you to depression. So now, say for example, you look at TV, you would see people with best IQ scores. They would have best luxury cars, best life partners, and so on and so forth. So regular comparison with such kind of people who are so perfect makes you feel depressed, isn't it? No matter how much we have, we feel depressed looking at those things and comparing ourselves to those things. So that leads to depression. So now again, you may say comparison may sometimes make us perform better, isn't it? Why are you saying it's always wrong? But the thing is, we will remain insecure no matter what. If someone outperforms us, okay, you are performing well because of this comparison, but at some point in time, somebody else outperforms you. Then what happens? Then there is this insecurity that comes into you, isn't it? So if we fail to outperform others, then we will see, oh, all my efforts are futile. What is the point of me doing something? So we should avoid this mistake of comparing with others. Last but not the least, out of my experience, this comparison actually deteriorates your energy, because your focus is on lot on you, right? And it fails to focus on the supreme object of our love, Lord Krishna. So when we are comparing, what happens is there is the self-centered focus on us, and we forget about Krishna in that point. And this energy is actually waste of your energy, isn't it? This can be made productive, much more efficient, can be used in something more productive in your life, into your Krishna conscious life. So that is the learning. So Bhagavad Gita, it actually, this particular verse 18.54, it indicates that we have to focus on the spiritual identity. I am the soul. And the thing is, my happiness is on serving Lord Krishna. Then nothing else in this material world matters, isn't it? Our ultimate destiny, what is our ultimate goal? Our ultimate goal is to love and serve Krishna. This should not be forgotten at any point in life. Once you get this firm in your heart, what is your ultimate goal and what are we doing, for why we are doing what we are doing, our ultimate goal should always be intact in our heart, because that will help us come back. Even if we deviate, it will help us to come back. That realization is very, very important. And it also gives you, this person who's come to this Brahmaputra platform, he has this equal vision, and he's able to relish wholeheartedly the remembrance of Krishna and his pastimes. So this is the understanding from the previous verse. And now I would just quote upon another learning too from this particular verse, because it's very, very important. Because when we look at our material world, there is materialistic consciousness, conceiving worldly pleasures. That is the primary, that is what is being portrayed in today's world. Consequently, what happens? We are tempted, isn't it? Because our heart is impure, we are tempted. And so saying no to temptation, how long can you do that? You can act and pretend for how long? That is not going to help you. You're going to succumb and you're going to say, oh man, what a person I am. I'm just not a good, you will just feel bad about what you have done, because you're not able to resist your temptations. At the same time, you succumb many, many times to those materialistic pleasures. So what we need to do here, what is the practical advice one can get? How can we come out of this materialistic mentality? For that, we need to raise our consciousness. That is the only way. To overcome the temptation, we just need to raise our consciousness, which is what is declared in this verse. Spiritually situated person, he is free from hankering and lamenting. That means his consciousness is raised to such an extent that he has no more inclination to anything that arises in this material world. No more temptations. He is so perfectly situated, isn't it? So that is the understanding. We need to raise our consciousness. Now one may ask, how can I raise my consciousness? Isn't it? That's a very practical question. Of course, the study of scriptures, association of devotees, being in the regular satsang of many devotees who are advanced, all this will help us to raise our consciousness, helps us to reinstate, okay, what is our ultimate goal? What are we here for? What is the purpose of this life? All this will be reinstated over and over and over when you are in the like-minded association of devotees who are advanced. So this is very important. And the study of scriptures, what does it say? Understanding at a deeper level, what does it intend to tell us? How can I learn from it? What should I follow? Krishna, if you're not able to follow anything because of our materialistic conditioning, which is accumulated over many, many millions of lifetimes, what do? We surrender to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and cry and beg and, do whatever it is necessary so that he can help us come out of it. He is the one who can help. The person who's free is the one who can help us enable to be free. Free from what? Free from this conception of birth, death, old age, and disease, because that is the ultimate freedom we need. The other freedoms, they are not freedom exactly. As long as you are going to come back into this world again and again and again, those are not freedom at all. So we need to raise our consciousness. This is the other important learning from the previous verse. So we have to be very diligent in our spiritual practice. We need to make sure we have a good association of people, read scriptures and understand the inner meaning of the scriptures and try to contemplate on it, try to understand it. And of course, application comes at a point where you are satisfied and convinced that, yes, I understood it. I understood the benefit of it. And now I want to implement it. And to implement it, it is not easy. Again, we need to have the mercy of our Guru Vargas, and we need to have the mercy of our devotees. We need to have mercy of Lord Krishna. So this mercy has to come in, and that is when we would be in a point, because with our own efforts, bhakti is a process where it is completely dependent on Lord's mercy. Unlike the other process, if you look at karma, it is piety, right? Piety, more piety, you get more punya, you go to Swarga. So other processes, our process, our movement, our bhakti movement is very, very, very much dependent on the mercy of the Lord. So we need to make sure that we become eligible for that mercy, and that mercy comes with endeavor from us. So we need to make sure to put in as much endeavor from our side as much as possible. And then again, you can't demand Krishna, oh, I did so much, now you are supposed to give me back. No, that is not how spirituality works. We just have to be patient. Like how, if you are doing something to your father and mother, would you expect something in return from them? No, you just do it out of love. And that is the way you should do it with the Lord as well. Don't expect anything. Krishna gives, he gives. No problem if he doesn't give, but you continue to do it. Then it will somehow or the other, by his mercy, we will be able to raise our consciousness. So this is what is 9.54. Okay. So now let's move on into 9.55. Sorry, not 18.54. So now coming to 18.55, right? Yeah, 55. Now Krishna, he talks about what happens to one after one attains this bhakti. What happens to such a person? If he attains bhakti, then what happens to such a person? Can you please tell me? Now, this is what Krishna is going to say. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yasyasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato jnatva vishate tat anantaram. So, translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such a devotion, what can he get? He can actually enter into the kingdom of Godhead. So here he's telling that bhakti, through bhakti, by bhakti, one can know me as I am. But when one knows me as I am, then what happens? Then he attains the spiritual world. So bhaktya mam apijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah. What does this word tatvatah mean? In truth, I can be known only through bhakti. So tatvatah specifically means you will be able to realize Krishna's names, forms, qualities, and pastimes. Those are things that will be known to you. You will know that in truth through this process of bhakti. So now, so the only way to know Krishna, what is the only way? It is pure devotional service. Under the guidance of a pure devotee of the Lord, you will be able to know Krishna. So without this process of devotional service, the absolute truth is covered. It is not possible to know the absolute truth without this process of devotional service. No, never, not at all possible. So now, how one's devotional service begins after this Brahmabhuta stage. Okay, now this person, he has attained the Brahmabhuta stage, but we know there is something beyond that Brahman platform, isn't it? What is that? This bhakti. But how can one begin this devotional service after here achieving this Brahmabhuta stage? By hearing from the Lord. That is the way one can actually begin the process of devotional service. And what is the effect of this hearing? Then this effect of hearing is that one can understand the Supreme Lord. He'll be able to see tatvatah. He will be able to get an understanding of the Lord's pastimes, qualities, form, all of that. So this is what this person will get as a result of hearing. So this person will be conversant with the signs of Krishna. This is the eligibility to go to Lord's abode. He'll be fully conversant in the signs of Krishna. So now we need to understand, what is this bhakti? What is this love? And what is this devotion? How can I understand this? If one may ask this question, we always have this famous story, isn't it? Where Krishna, he went to Hastinapur, and Duryodhan, he cooked Shappan Bhog, and he told Krishna, say, Krishna, you have to eat this food. See, I cooked everything for you. And now Krishna is saying, I am neither hungry nor you're offering me with love. So I will not eat unless my mission is accomplished. I have come here for a peace mission. If it is not accomplished, I will not eat. So now Krishna, he goes to Vidura's house. When Vidurani opened the door, she saw Krishna. It's a pleasant surprise for her, isn't it? She had tears of love upon seeing Krishna. Oh my God, Krishna has come. The Supreme Lord has come. So she immediately welcomed him. She gave him a sitting place. And she thought, oh, I haven't cooked anything. Suddenly the Lord has come to our home. What can I offer him? She ran hither and thither. And she brought some bananas. And then she sat at his lotus feet, and then she started serving the bananas. So while talking to Krishna, because of that overwhelming love, instead of giving him banana, she actually gave banana peels to Lord Krishna. So when Vidura came and saw this, what is going on? Vidura found, oh my God, my wife is feeding banana peels to Lord Krishna instead of banana. Then she realized her mistake, and she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, Krishna. But Krishna, what did he look for in a devotee? He looks for that loving reciprocation, loving exchange. That affection is what he expects. He doesn't see what you offer. Of course, we have to offer what he likes. But if with love, if we offer, that is the element that we are giving, isn't it? Everything else is juta, meaning everything, whatever you offer, this banana doesn't belong to us, this rice doesn't belong, nothing belongs to us. We are giving his own offerings. But what is that element that we are adding to it? We should add the element of love. That element of love is what Krishna wants. That is the only thing that is coming from us. Nothing else is ours. If we are offering something, we should not be thinking, I am offering this, No, nothing belongs to us. That is the first thing that has to be erased from our mind. The only thing we are offering to the Lord is our love. And that love has to be given to the Lord. And that is what he expects from a devotee. I just want that love. And here we are seeing that even obviously the banana peels are not going to be tasty. But the Lord, because it is offered with love, he accepted it from Vidurani. The banana peels is tasty because of the affection. The Chappan Bhog, even though it is looking tasty, yeah, it may appear there are so many delicacies that are lined up for him, but no love there. Krishna says, no, I don't want it because it is not offered with love. We need to clearly understand this concept, dear devotees. So again, we need to understand Vishyate here means he enters the supreme abode of the Lord. Okay, when he enters the supreme abode of the Lord, what happens? Does it mean he loses his identity? No. Nobody loses their identity. I mean, as long as the devotional service exists, there must be Bhagavan, there must be Bhakta, there must be Bhakti. This knowledge, it is not going to be vanquished after liberation. So when one is freed from material conception of life, the individuality exists even in pure Krishna conscious state, which is what Srila Prabhupada is trying to say. So Vishyate means one can enter into Lord's abode in one's individuality to engage in his association and render his service. So this is what we need to understand. I'm going to give you, make sure you to understand the concept. I'll give you a few examples here, don't worry. Bhaktyamam abhijanati. There is no way to know me in truth except bhakti. When someone knows me in truth through bhakti, that person, what does he attain? He attains the transcendental destination. So many people have come back to me. They have attained bhava for me. They have love for me. Manmaya mam upashritaha. By taking shelter of me, by fixing the mind on me. But here Krishna, he's elaborating it further. When one can fix the mind on him, when one can take shelter of him, when there is bhakti. This is what he's elaborating here. So bhakti, the component of bhakti is very, very important. So now, if you look into this verse further, he says, this person actually comes to me. That is what he's saying. But he doesn't say this person will go to impersonal merging, isn't it? Because he says, Mameti so Arjuna. He will come to me, right? That is what it means. This might seem impersonal for some people, just like how a green bird, it enters into a green tree. This green bird will not be distinguished by our naked eye because it seems as if it has merged with the tree. Because it's green in color, this bird may seem to have merged with the tree. That is what it looks to our naked eye. But they are different and they are individual. That is what Srila Prabhupada is conveying through this purport. You should not mistake it to be merging. No, it is not merging. It is definitely different and it is individual. He gives two examples to understand. Say, when a parrot enters into a tree, the tree is green, the parrot is green. That is what a bird comparison is. Now, Brahman enters into Parabrahman. It appears like it has become one. No, it has not become one. The parrot has its identity, the tree has its identity. And now as Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, he gives another example also. Like how an airplane is there in the airport, it is standing there and then the airplane takes off. You see it flying. It appears as if it is merged into the sky, but then it is not merging. It has its identity. And at another place, this airplane will go down and it maintains its identity. So here, Rupa Goswami from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he gives a very beautiful example to illustrate this concept. He says there are shark-like species in this world, right? I mean, there are dolphins in the spiritual world. If you go to the spiritual world in the ocean, you will see dolphins jumping, and you will see how beautiful it is. They are jumping out of joy. Like that, that is in the ocean. So now coming back to the spiritual world, there is a comparison made as in parallel. Like that, devotees in the spiritual world, they are in the spiritual world where they are enjoying and jumping like dolphins that can live in the vast body of water. If you look at the dolphins, there is no dearth of water. They are in the oceans. There is no dearth of water there. Likewise, in the spiritual world, there is no dearth of happiness. There is just spiritual bliss. There is just exchange of love between Krishna and the devotees. On the other hand, if you look at it, these non-devotees are there. They are compared to the fishes in the puddles of water. What happens to the, on a rainy day, the fishes are lazy to get out of those puddle and go to the river. But if you look at it on the contrary, on the autumn season or on the summer season, the water dries up, and because of it, the fishes may die, isn't it? So that is the understanding. So the devotees and the non-devotees, there is a comparison that Rupa Goswami is trying to bring out in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu to say that the enjoyment that you have in the spiritual world, there is no dearth of happiness. There is so much spiritual bliss that is going on in the spiritual world. But unlike in the case of non-devotees, there is no enjoyment as such. They just suffer. Okay. So now this is the understanding. So there is a need for us to understand. So you will see that bhakti is like a big river, and dolphins and sharks and oceans, they are like devotees. And then when you enter into the ocean, everybody will be happy. Like that, when you enter into the spiritual world, everybody will be happy. Unlike the fishes who live in the puddle of water, during the dry season, summer season, the sun is shining, but the fishes are trembling because they can't live. They think there is enjoyment in this material world, but the spiritual world is the ultimate place where there is enjoyment, because we are rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna. That is the understanding that Srila Rupa Goswami gives with regards to making a comparison between dolphins and fishes, and just trying to help us understand this material world is futile. There's no enjoyment. People foolishly think that this material world has so much enjoyment, when in fact nothing. And Rupa Goswami Pad also gives the example to say that there is the identity of the ocean, and there is identity of the aquatics in the ocean, and both of them, they don't get merged, which is what Srila Prabhupada also reinforces in his purports. He talks about surface acquaintance with the ocean is not sufficient. So one must have complete knowledge of the aquatics living in the ocean depths. And this ocean and the aquatics in the ocean, they have unique identity. And Mayavadis, they mention about rivers merging with the ocean. But then we need to understand that the individual identity for a devotee remains intact, and there is no concept of merging. So which is what is the understanding. So God, we need to understand, Supreme Lord, he's attracted only by one thing. Bhakti is the means of love, and devotion is the main component. And devotion is manifested or expressed through sacrifice. Seva to the Lord, loving seva to the Lord, to his devotees, to whomever he likes. He likes everybody in the world. So doing that kind of service to people is what Lord loves. And chanting with an attitude that Lord is no different from the name. That is the attitude we have to develop during the chanting mood. That is when we develop this proper service attitude. So we need to understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us this particular verse, which is Trinadapi Suni Chena, right? To chant the name of the Lord properly, one must be humbler than a blade of grass, one must be tolerant than a tree, and one must be ready to offer respect and expect no respect from others. So this is the consciousness that we need to adopt during chanting of the holy names of the Lord. And so we need to make sure to make small improvements to our life to actually enhance our loving relationship with the Lord. Whatever it takes, whatever is anukul for bhakti, we need to definitely follow through that and avoid whatever that is pratikul to bhakti. So this way we can actually try to please the Lord in all possible ways, and also try to please the devotees. So with this, I will stop for today. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Thank you so much for patiently listening to me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji, for this wonderful explanation of 1855. Are there any questions or comments? Any questions or comments? There are no more questions. Then I can probably, I like the example of the green tree, Mataji, and the green bird. It just explains it so clearly that this merging is not that you become one with the Lord. You have your identity. So if you are, for example, in the spiritual world, if you are a charmer, then that is what you do. You do that activity. Or if you are a pujari there, or if you are whatever you are in the spiritual world, that activity remains. And but yet you are in ecstasy, you are in with the Lord. So I really, this concept was a little difficult for me in the beginning, but now as we are ending and with your explanation, I understood it very well today. So thank you very much for that explanation, Mataji. There's a question from Gideon Prabhuji. Shriman Gideon, kindly unmute and ask your question.
Dharavat, Pranam, dear devotees. My question is, in the introduction, in the chapter 2 of Nectar of Instruction, there is the talk of there's a way you can lose your good fortune, you can lose your bhakti, but it is not very clear as to what offenses lead to you losing your good fortune and losing your bhakti. There is the only thing I know with regards to this is um, when you are looking at personalities like Jada Bharat, who because of a moment of weakness, he became a deer in the next life, because he became attached to a deer at the end of his life, and that moment relapse, he became a deer. And my question is, um, when the nectar of instruction is talking about losing your bhakti or losing your good fortune, um, and it also talks about how every one of us has a relationship with Krishna. So there's no such thing as being a non-devotee, because we all have a relationship with Krishna. But at some point, we forget that relationship, and that's why we have atheistic people. So my question is what really happens that, you know, that people, devotees like even Ajamila, people like Jada Bharat, they have moments where they even forget that they are devotees. What really leads to that happening? Hare Krishna.
So, a couple of things, right? Very good question, Prabhuji, by the way. So thank you for bringing out that point on nectar of instruction, verse number 2. Atyahara prayaschasya prajalpo nimagraha janasangasya laulyamsya sadbir bhakti nashriti. So, devotional service, it gets spoiled if we become entangled in these activities, which is what is being brought out there. And what are those activities? It is saying eating more than necessary, collecting funds more than necessary, over endeavoring on mundane things, talking unnecessarily mundane subject matters, and practicing just spirituality for the sake of following it and not for actual spiritual advancement, associating with people who are worldly. All this is going to lead you to what? We talked about it in the class, right? What is this that we talked about? We talked about raising to the platform, raising our consciousness to the spiritual level that we would anticipate where we need to go and have loving relationships with the Lord. That can actually come in bhava and prema, isn't it? So that is the stage we are learning, going to hanker for. But right now, as you rightly mentioned, our consciousness is covered. Our consciousness, even though there is prema in the heart, that prema is covered. We have that loving relationship which is covered because we are misidentifying ourselves as a body. We identify to the things of this world. We relate to the things of this world, but we forget that we are eternal servant of Krishna. When we think we are the eternal servant of Krishna, what do? How do we act? We would act in a way that is pleasing to Krishna. What is pleasing to Krishna? Is it association with worldly minded people who talk about politics, who talk about stocks, who are not at all interested to hear about Krishna? Do we want to associate with them? What will happen to us in that process? In that process, our consciousness will degrade and you will start to fall down from where you are. If you are in this anatta nivriti stage, you will fall down from there because your interests are slowly going away and you're being greedy for mundane attachments. Who would want? A devotee wants to just satisfy the body for the sake of satisfying. You just need the body because it can be used as an instrument to serve the Lord. When you have this mentality, why would you want to portray, yeah, you know what, I got this degree from such and such university? You start to boast yourself. You start to think that, okay, here's my achievement. Here are all the degrees I have. Here is where I got it from. And when you start doing that, what are you trying to do? You are trying to focus on yourself, considering you are the body. But if you are a servant of Krishna, will you do that? The servant of Krishna acts for the pleasure of Krishna, pleasure of devotees. What will he do? Tushyanticha Ramanticha. He will start to discuss about Krishna and Krishna's glories. And his mentality would not be degraded to a point where he will just practice spirituality for the sake of practicing it. He knows why he's doing what he's doing. He doesn't waste his energy talking about mundane subject matter because what? There is no point in talking about or complaining about or criticizing about things that are not relevant. It could be relevant because you're identifying yourself as a body, but it is not relevant in a broader sense because we are servants of Krishna, which is what is the understanding. When we have that ego established where we think ourselves to be the servant of Lord Krishna, then all these things are secondary for us. It doesn't even matter, because the devotee of the Lord is completely engrossed himself to think about he starts to glorify the Lord. He wants to talk about the Lord with other devotees. He wants to spread Krishna conscious movement. Those are all the things that he has in his mind, which he wants to accomplish. These mundane achievements, collecting funds, all that doesn't matter for him. And he is very, very choosy about whom he associates with, because he doesn't want to associate with anybody who is a non-devotee, because he knows he was going to fall down because of that association. And again, with Bharat Maharaj, that example is specifically shown to help us understand that, of course, people are not going to fall from the platform of bhava or prema, but here it is to reinstate that even if we have some sort of attachment to our thought, it can look compassionate, it can look nice, but if it is going to take you away from spirituality, if it is pratikul, then we have to avoid such thoughts as well. That is going to degrade a person. There is chances of fall down, where we should not even be attached to our thoughts, because our thoughts is polluted. It is based on our likes and dislikes. It is not based on shastras. It is not based on a value system of faith. So why should we be attached to those thoughts which are degrading our consciousness, which is the understanding that through Bharat Maharaj, we are able to understand that. Hope I made myself clear, Prabhuji. Let me know if I answered your question. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes, you have answered my question. Thank you for the explaining.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Hare Krishna, I know we have exhausted our time, but are there any other burning questions or comments? I can hand over to Path Prabhuji in that case. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji, for your nice class. And it is a continuation of the text number 54 and 55, which you already discussed about the renunciation stage, Brahmabhuta Sanatmana Suchati Nakankhati, renunciation stage. And after renunciation, what is supposed to he do? And already what Prabhupada is described here, there are two types of a person, like the personalist and impersonalist. They knows the Brahman, Brahmasthiti, Brahmabhuta. But the personalist, he have the proper idea as a bhakta. He can know, understand what is the reality and what is the identity. Like he's telling, he's the part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and according to that, he do his duty. And he have the identity, like already discussed. Many examples Prabhupada given, the blue tree and the blue birds, and also the ocean and the aquatics. That cannot be merged in any circumstance. They have the special identity. So we have also the special identity. But how you know? We can know through the bhakti. Bhakti amam abhijananti. Like already talked, already discussed. Through this process of a bhakti, then we can understand Krishna as it is, like Bhagavad Gita as it is. Like Krishna also we can understand. Krishna told, who am I? As I am. So a devotee can understand. A personalist can understand, not the impersonalist. So this is the main thing. And how you can understand how a bhakti process by the guidance of the spiritual master. Without spiritual master, we cannot progress in bhakti, or we cannot go, even we don't know what is the Krishna and how is supposed to be do. Like Prabhupada giving the example in the introduction, if we're taking any medicine, we're supposed to be taking advice of a doctor or written in the medicine box. We cannot go for a trend and taking advice from him, which medicine I supposed to be take. Similarly, if we progress in bhakti, supposed to be we take the shelter of a bhakta, and then we can progress. And in the spiritual world, although we are entering in the spiritual world, there is also, like Mataji told, all Prabhupada also mentioned, there is the Bhakta, Bhakti, and Bhakti Kriya, like the Bhagavan, the God, and the devotee and devotional service. By through this process, we can understand our position. Our position is Jivar Surup Hai, Krishna Nitya Das. We are eternal servant of Lord Krishna. And we are meant for the serving, not for the enjoy. So if the consciousness we can develop, then we'll be happy, and that is called the Brahma Bhuta platform. Hare Krishna. Also,
Thank you.
it's time, we are adjusted our time. It's already 10 minutes past. So I request all the devotees, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra for glorification of Hare Krishna Radhika Kasturi Mataji. Please join. Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Ansha Sarva Karurvishya
Karubhyasya
Sindhubhya
Sindhubhyeva Cha
Patitanam
Patitanam
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo
Vaishnavebhyo Namo
Namo
Namaha.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Our great Radhika Kasturi Mataji ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Thank you so much, dear devotees. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you.
Thank
Hare
you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare
Tomorrow,
Krishna.
same time, same link, same time. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for joining.